right, good morning, and welcome back to the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, with your boy Matty B, and that is not Kyle Quinn. That is our special in show. I was about to say in studio. We're not in the studio. Oh, we are in the studio, but separate studios. But let's go in studio. On my special in studio guest host, old friend of mine, Big Al. Al, what's up, man? Welcome and thank you for carving out a few minutes on this Friday morning to sit in for the Birds Blast.
Not a problem, and not being Kyle Quinn's one of my better assets. Most people tell me, so that's a plus. That's a plus.
It's not like you and Kyle have any physical similarities.
No. I'm much more of a man than he is. That's for sure.
Oh, poor Kyle.
No, Kyle. I'm kidding, Kyle. You're very manly in your own right, in your own way.
Well, Al, listen, and if you're not Kyle Quinn, which I don't know how to take this, I said this on my show last night. I said that in the 5 years that me and Kyle have been doing a Birds Blast type show, we've been doing it a pregame-esque show for 5 seasons now. I've never replaced him with a guest if he couldn't do the show. So I've always gone solo if he wasn't able to do it. So you're the first person I've actually put in as a guest host. So you really should feel yourself privileged for that.
The privilege is oozing right now. It's just utterly oozing.
Yes. Totally all kinds of mind things and all kinds of weird conjuring images. All right. Al, so the Birds Blast. So what we do, we look back at the game that was, and we look ahead at the game that will be. And there's a lot to break down on the game that was against the Commanders on Sunday. Eagles' 10-game historic franchise-setting winning streak has come to an end. All good things must come to an end. 36-33 loss to the Commanders. But I want to get your holistic summary of the game first before we start breaking down little subplots, because there's a whole hell of a lot of them subplots. So what was your opinion and impression of everything that went down on the field in Landover last Sunday?
I guess if this is a couple bullet points if you want to take away from. Number one is I wasn't always say I was a biggest Jalen Hurts fan, but just tell me without Jalen Hurts, like this team could do it without Jalen Hurts is, I think last week showed a lot. I mean, the fact that they were able to turn over the ball 5 times and still was in the game the entire time is a testament to the type of team. A lot of self-inflicted wounds would probably be, the biggest takeaway from this game. Like just the CJGJ, which I'm sure we're going to get into a little bit about, just a lot of dumb penalties at the wrong time. And then the big one was too many men on the field, and one guy was trying to run off, and they left the right side of the field wide open and allowed for a former Eagle to score on us twice, might I add. That's unfortunately where it went. So Zacchaeus had his day against his former team, and just a lot of self-inflicted wounds. But I think if I had to come out of this, I know this is going to be a question that's going to come down the line, but I'll jump on it. Am I worried? No.
Well, the "are you worried" question is going to come at a later time, but in different package differently. And I want to start debunking and taking apart everything you just said. And let's start with first of all, let's start with the positive, the good. Yeah. The way the Eagles came out in this game, first opening drive touchdown of the season was scored on this game. The Eagles went into this game with only 3 first-quarter touchdowns all throughout 2024. They came out of this game with 3 first-quarter touchdowns, so they doubled their entire first-quarter input or output all season long. The first quarter was possibly one of the best quarters of Eagle football I've ever seen in my life until the end. And Saquon Barkley ran for over 100 yards in the first quarter, Al. 2 touchdowns, was on his way to a 400-yard game and 8 touchdowns. That was his average was going to be until things kind of went off the rails for the Eagles. Now let's talk about the Jalen Hurts injury, Al. I want to bring that up because it bothers me. I am not pinning this loss on the loss of the quarterback, Al. Come on. The Eagles' defense was shoddy at best, and the special team struggled.
Yeah, but you just said it right there. They were on a roll. They then weren't on a roll. What was the major difference from them not being? Because look at the running game was on fire. You said it yourself.
Yeah.
Then the running game wasn't on fire. You can't tell me that Jalen Hurts' legs do not add some layer to the running game that makes defenses maybe hesitate a step before they commit to going after Saquon or Kenny Gainwell, whoever's running the ball, or putting the amount of pressure on. You saw it change as soon as they came in, as soon as he came out of the game. You saw it change. You saw how the Washington defense changed. You saw how the schematics changed because they went to a cold quarterback who they didn't have to worry about his legs being a big factor in it, and they could solely focus on that running game. And that's where, yes, Jalen Hurts is a major factor to this team, like it or not. If he wasn't your guy, if you don't think he's the number one guy, I don't think you have to think he's the number one quarterback in the league, but to sit there and say he's the worst quarterback in the league or whatever is a little bit ridiculous. No, it's a lot of bit ridiculous. He is not just a game manager, I think kind of proved right then and there.
So I've never said that he was not a number one guy. I think he's a competent starting NFL quarterback. I don't think he's elite. I think there's only 2 elite quarterbacks currently in the league, and he's not one of them.
Well, that was always my question with again, I think it's the eye of the beholder when you use the terms elite, superstar, game changer, game manager, all those terms, because I think in the back of their head, in the back of your head, or in the back of any person you're talking to, it's the eye of the beholder type situation. I think that term means a lot. Yeah, if I only think there's only maybe 5 elite, and I'm saying this generically, like elite players in positions throughout the whole league. So, like, I mean, there's guys who are here, and then everybody else is here.
Yeah.
So, it's just like, I don't think Lamar Jackson's an elite quarterback. I think he can be a game-changing quarterback, a superstar quarterback. But I believe Patrick Mahomes is an elite quarterback.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't think there is another elite quarterback outside of
Josh Allen.
Again, I could put him right there on the line. He toes the line, because for a guy, like, he can score a lot, and he can make an offense who, let's be honest, he doesn't really have that many offensive weapons. They went through a lot of injuries. So I'll give him the elite status. But elite also means you win, in my eyes. You
absolutely.
can win. And Josh Allen has kind of not been there yet.
Well, in that aspect,
you say that about other people. Like, well, he hasn't won the big game yet. Well,
yeah, Pat Mahomes is the only one who really qualifies for that elite status, then, because he's the only one who's done it and multiple times won the big game. Listen, I'm not going to sit here. I've come under fire. What a shock here. I'm under fire for some comments that I made about Jalen Hurts this week, and I stand by them. I still agree with support.
What were your exact comments there?
Okay,
why don't we let you defend yourself? Go ahead.
So I was actually walked into this situation. I did not even initiate.
Are you calling this entrapment?
No, I was asked a question and I answered it. So I'm not going to shy away from anything, but I was asked, and it's sort of what you're talking about. Do I believe that, in light of what happened against the Commanders, what is my take on Jalen Hurts? Like, how do I feel about Jalen Hurts, about being a great quarterback? Somewhat, I forget if it was that along those lines. And I said, and I quote, I think Hurts is an average to above average starting quarterback who is a starter in this league, but I don't think he's a winner, and I think he's a quitter. There was my exact words. And
why is he a quitter?
Because of what happened in Alabama.
I can understand
in Alabama. Because of what happened in Alabama.
So you're still not against them.
Yeah, so the quitter thing was taken out of context, and it was more towards what happened on Sunday about being hurt and coming out of the game. That was totally not where I was going with that.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think I know who you. I watched the show. So
did you? Okay, yeah, they were all over me. So, which is fine. Again, I just asked, work in a little bit more. It's a Rap Sports when you say my name. I just want you.
Yeah, that's all.
I need a little bit of follow-on advertisement. Yeah. But anyway, I listen. Did the style of defense against the Eagles change when Jalen Hurts left? Was there more of a concentration on not necessarily, was it respecting Kenny Pickett's ability to throw the football, or was it lack of respect of Kenny Pickett's ability to run with the football for why the Redskins went to 8 in the box? What do you think the reason around that was? And why do you think defenses are to play the way they do again? Is it because they're concerned about Jalen Hurts' arm, or they're concerned about his feet?
Well, it's his feet. Because here, think about it. even the O-line didn't play that great after he got out. And when you have to, because you've seen defenses collapse into the middle or out to the sides, and you leave a giant gap open somewhere, and then Jalen can take off. I mean, he could do it anytime. I mean, it's not as good as Lamar Jackson, but he's pretty Lamar Jackson-esque. Hey, Barb.
She said, "Hi, Maddie."
I know. I'm here too. I'm just trying to let her know I'm here too. She doesn't like me anymore. Ever since I started doing this, she don't like me no more.
I love Barbara.
I love for Barb. I love Barb. But then okay, so now you leave. They can just, you can throw the pressure. I don't want to call it willy nilly, but yeah, willy nilly when you have a guy like that's Barb. Make a man feel special. That you can change your pressure schemes. You can load that box with 6, 7, 8 guys. You can give force a guy to throw the ball kind of errantly and give him Kenny Pickett because I was really nervous when Kenny came in. I'm like, I just kind of thought back to the preseason and all the BS that we saw from him. And I mean, the guy came in cold and he played pretty well for a guy who came in cold. It's just, you can change your defensive scheme. You can pressure, like I said, kind of more willy-nilly, not without all the thought process that goes into it, without a fear of Kenny Pickett finding a seam and going up, or shovel passing the ball to Saquon to go take it 10, 15 yards because they left the guy open. They can put the pressure on him and allow their weak secondary, let's call it for what it is, not the greatest secondary. They've upgraded in some areas in their secondary. It's not the best secondary in the world in Washington. And make them look a little better because you can put the pressure. A la the 2022 Eagles. Was the secondary that good for the Eagles, or was it just we had so much pressure up front it allowed the secondary to look that good? And I think that's kind of what Washington was doing against us in the second half of last Sunday's game.
Kind of looking at the numbers, Pickett on the day, 14 for 24, 143 yards, touchdown and interception. It's serviceable. And listen, his offense didn't help him out. Key moments of the game, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith dropped key passes. That Devontae Smith pass, that drop, that's the game right there if he makes that catch. Mm-hmm. Jaden Daniels, 24 for 39.
Jalen was only 1 for 4, too. Like, he really didn't have a great start. I mean, it was all the running game that really made that first half offense look better. I mean, and not to kind of unprove my point and prove your point. I mean, the passing game looked pedestrian at best before Jalen came out.
Yeah,
I mean, it was only 4 attempts. Don't get me wrong, but he was definitely struggling in the beginning of the game to get that ball out of his hands into a receiver's hand. But Saquon didn't need that with Saquon, kind of running rampant.
No, he didn't. But you're absolutely right. Jaden Daniels, 24 for 39, 258 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 INTs for the Commanders in the winning effort. Let's now switch to the defense because there's a lot of stories here. Let's talk about the Jalen Carter. It seems like we can't get through a game these days without Jalen Carter getting a 15-yard personal foul penalty. It's starting to become a thing. Mm-hmm. Now, the officials over the week have definitely come into the limelight, especially when it comes to the Philadelphia sports teams. Apparently now every official for all the 4 major sports is some sort of WWE conspiracy where you got the bad ref on the take and he's against the Eagles and the Sixers and whatnot. But Jalen Carter, and listen, from an official standpoint, and I'm here to tell you that, yes, do players' reputations precede them? Absolutely, 100% they do.
Look at the two guys who got in trouble. Him and CJ GJ, who's got one of the biggest mouths in the. But that's the way his style of game. But that's just the way he is. But it's not. Doesn't make it right or wrong. No, but yes, it puts you on a radar that maybe most people wouldn't be on if it wasn't for it.
And it's an absolute thing. We're human beings. It is. We talk. Hey, listen. Oh Christ, I got to deal with this guy today. It is the thing. Now,
your fuse is going to be shorter for him versus somebody else.
A lot of people are playing Monday morning ref quarterback saying, well, CJ, GJ, GJ, BJ, KJ should never have been thrown out of that game because they can't see the video evidence that supported his second personal foul penalty. Listen, it could have been something verbal that was said either to the ref, to a player,
Sure.
anywhere. It could have been something verbal. I don't know. I haven't seen any video proof of what he did for the second personal foul on
No.
sportsmanlike conduct penalty. Don't forget.
All you saw in the video is him getting hit in the head and then getting tossed out. So you figure the physical aspect of it. And listen, I'm not going to disagree with the fact that it should have been a double toss. If somebody got hit in the head, if you get hit in the head during the play of game, just because pure momentum, you're getting a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. So I could see where people are upset because one side didn't fit the other side, and it wasn't kindergarten where everything's the same on both sides. And
it should have been upsetting. There was a retaliation penalty that should have been called. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. They blew the first one, but doesn't matter. He still deserved the first one. It just they should have flagged the second guy. But my point is with the behavior of Jalen Carter, another personal foul penalty, GJ getting thrown out of the game. Last week, we had the incident on the sidelines between Jalen Carter, Nick Sirianni, and Cliff Hurt, whatever the defensive line coach is.
Clint Hurt.
My question is this. Is the immaturity and lack of accountability of the players on this football team by the head coach, Nick Sirianni, is that something that you fear might hurt this team as we get deeper into this?
Well, I sure hope not. It could. Absolutely. Anything like this could hurt. And, maybe not having a Brandon Graham on the field with him is a little, has allowed him to be kind of, not kept in check. And listen, you're a young guy. You're a big guy. It's a game of aggression. And yes, you're going to do, they're going to do dumb things and think they're going to get a heat themselves. But like you said, now you're seeing a pattern. That's the problem. It's one thing if it happens. We've seen every guy get like this at one point or time. Now, when you have it 2 weeks in a row, it's a pattern. I'm hoping not a la the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts problems we had in the past weeks. I'm hoping that guys like Brandon Graham and other leaders can step up and be like, yo, you got to get yourself in check. You're going to cost us. You're going to cost us a game. And for all intents and purposes, I would say GJ kind of did cost us. I mean, there's a couple things you can go back to. The ultimate thing is the team should have never been in a position where they had 5 turnovers and still allowed this game to be a game. But you can look at the Saquon Barkley missed opportunity. Devontae Smith is not a guy I'm usually not talking about having sure hands, wide open pass, didn't catch it. But those are twice. You have Saquon. We could actually only have one loss on our record right now if it wasn't for 2 times during the season where somebody didn't catch the ball when they easily could have and should have. But again, you could also argue the fact that they should have never been in that position where they were. But with that being said, GJ not being on the field at the end allowed that to happen. And I blame him a lot for not controlling himself and putting the betterment of the team in front of his whatever. And like I said, it's most likely something he said. We won't know what it is, and it, could have been something really egregious, sure, or violent, or threatening. It all really depends on what the words were, and we know this, especially this day and age, you can't get away with anything.
Yeah, there's certain taboo things that even on the football field you can't speak of. There are certain things, and I don't agree with people are saying that the NFL is now soft, where you're flagging people for smack talking. There's smack talking and there's over the line smack talking, and there is a line even for professional sports. So you're right. I certainly don't think this was a case of the tainted refs coming after the Eagles. I think this was warranted, and yes, reputations do precede players in these situations, and they will continue to precede them, just like it's preceding Nick Sirianni with these officials too. Now, Sirianni, after the game, allegedly got into an altercation with friggin' Zach Ertz. Al, what's going on here, man? And you know what? This is what burns my business about this. When have I ever, or you have ever seen a coach having to go out to midfield post-game to do the handshake with the head of team security going out there with you? Why in the hell does Nick Sirianni need a babysitter?
Normal. That's
what?
Normal. There's always
normal. Well, who else goes? I've never seen a security guy go out with anybody else.
I don't know who head of security is. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you didn't follow the Eagles, you wouldn't and didn't know who Big Dom was. You would just think he's another coach or something. Hold on, number one. Yes, it's annoying and it shouldn't be happening. I agree with you with that. We'll get to that for a second. I don't care that Big Dom's there. It has nothing to do with that.
I do.
And maybe
I think it's terrible.
and maybe it's part of it is maybe that was the problem. Like maybe with Sirianni's issues where they talked about him in the beginning of the season, excuse me, and the end of the last season, they want Big Dom might be his babysitter, like helps him keep him in check. I mean, even what's his face, Sean McVay has a guy that keeps him off the field. Like they have a guy that literally pulls him back so he's not on the field when he's yelling and screaming. Like that's his job to pull somebody back. So these guys are gonna have quirks. That I'm not worried about. Why is he getting in an argument with a former player? I don't know what beef those guys had. Maybe when he left. I mean, he did listen. Zach Ertz really didn't leave here in the greatest of ways. I mean, I know him and Howie didn't see eye to eye, and there was the problems when he was in. Maybe he thought he was disrespected the way he left. He should have been signed to more or whatever it is. I don't know, and no, it's annoying. It's a blemish on us. But I can't sit here and say if Zach Ertz didn't start it and he just kind of went back at him. I don't know what was said.
First of all, Zach Ertz, if you look at things, and this is only from my standpoint, I look at Zach Ertz way more as an all-time Eagle than I'll ever look at Nick Sirianni. Zach Ertz has climbed the heights Nick Sirianni has not reached as an Eagle. He's not the greatest tight end in Eagles history, and he's not a Super Bowl champion. So
I
has those things on him.
Doesn't he have the most receptions in a Eagle season as an Eagle too?
Yeah.
Did he set that record 1 year too, I believe?
He's the greatest tight end we've ever had. So
and with that being said, and he's actually a very religious guy too. We know that him and Carson and all that stuff. So and then of course, again, kind of what we're talking about, your past issues kind of make you lead towards blaming Nick Sirianni, which I get it. Like I don't see why I wouldn't blame Nick Sirianni in this situation. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that it is troublesome. The Dom thing. I don't get the Dom thing because Dom was kind of a thing even before Sirianni was an issue. So we'll talk off air about this. I think there's more to Dom than anybody ever will know. And I don't really want to put anything out in the nebulous world here that is untruth, but I have a theory about Big Dom.
Speculation.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes way before Nick Sirianni was even a thought process here, way into the past. So we'll get in that later. But listen, tempers were flaring. I don't know if it was a post game, whatever. Some words went back and forth. I don't know. It's a game that was heated from the get. We saw a lot of little skirmishes break out in the midst of the game. Obviously, look at Jalen Carter, look at the CJGJ thing. I mean, personal fouls galore over this. So I don't know. I'm not making excuses, but unless I know the complete side of the story, I'm not blaming anybody.
Barbara says Sirianni looks for trouble with that fat Dom around all the time. I think Lori likes the attention. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's the rumor that Dom.
I don't know.
Somebody wanted to make a movie about his life and he turned it down. I mean, what?
Somebody wanted to make a documentary about him. Yes. Listen, the documentaries are coming out like this. The documentary on the Philly captain. I watched it. It's only about like 30-40 minutes long, so it's not a long
do a documentary on me.
I mean, you could. I mean, if I follow you around with a camera and I edit it down, I could do the day in the life of Matty B.
I don't know. I don't want people going. I don't want people into my inner sanctum like that.
We'll call it "Don't Be a Homer," the Matty B story.
Don't be a Homer. There you go. I like that. Let's talk about special teams real quick, Al, because in the second half, the special teams let this team down. There's no other way to say it, and that has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts' injury or not. The average starting field position for the Commanders in the second half was their own 39-yard line on kickoff returns. What went wrong with special teams last week?
Everything. Everything went wrong. I mean, we've seen a little bit. If you go back even a week before that at the Steelers game, I mean, it was one problem, but you had the fumble, which gave the Steelers good field position. Then you saw this week it wasn't just one bad moment or a couple bad moments. Like the kicks were weak. I mean, the Jake Elliott thing's a real problem because if it comes down to having to hit a long 50-yarder or more, I don't think he has the leg strength to do it anymore. Whatever it is, he's got an injury that's hurting him to allow him to kick that. I mean, I thought that 150-yarder was going to go through and kind of give him a little bit of that self-confidence he need, but it came short. It was short, and him hitting 50-yarders used to be like, you rolling out of bed and screaming Homer at somebody. I mean, it was
that common. Yeah,
it was that common to happen. So I worry about that more than anything. I think a lot of the other problems can be easily fixed in practice because they weren't making those mistakes before. So maybe, maybe like people said, like it was kind of good they had a loss to kind of shuck them up, made them feel like they're invincible, and they have to go back and work on some of the normal schematics that maybe they've overlooked over the last couple of weeks because of their success they've been having. I don't know, but I'm not super worried about special teams as much as I am worried about Jake Elliott overall.
Barbara asked, why doesn't Elliott kick off? Is it to save his leg? Yeah, I mean, this is something new this year, right? Elliott used to always kick off. I remember that very vividly.
Yeah, and I wonder if when they signed him to that extended contract, knowing that how long he's been here and how much kicking he does, they signed with it, man, to do that in the punting. So, and his kicks weren't that great this week either. Like they were more high in the air, but they would come out. They would be not close enough to the end zone that allowed them to come out, and they would chew off 20 to 25 yards without even trying. Especially with the new kickoff setup, which I hate, might I add.
Yeah,
either just take kickoffs away. The only time you're going to kick off is if you're playing and try to recover an onside kick. Like, just go back to that. Just start everybody on the 25-yard line because it's just becoming that. It's just becoming. They keep changing it. It's bastardized now. It's pointless.
It is weird. Let's do the Birds Blast stat pack. This is the segment of the show. By the way, before everybody else, this is of course you're watching this on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Give us a like, subscribe, smash the bell, tell a friend. We're heading into the new year, and we want to do it on the right step. We're growing every day. I told you guys, Mike Lauro will be joining the network in February, and Sal.
Mike Lauro.
Yeah, Mike's coming back, so it's gonna be good to deal with Mike again. Anyway, the Birds Blast stat pack. Red zone efficiency, Al, 2 for 4 in this game. That's another reason that this team lost this football game. You can't go 50% in the red zone and expect to win. For the season now, 34 for 58, less than 60% effective in the red zone. Al, we're getting into that time of the year. Dallas be damned, the Giants be damned. Mm-hmm. Playoff time is playoff time. You got to score touchdowns when you're down in the red zone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it all intents and purposes look like I feel like Jalen's not going to be playing Sunday at 1:00. By the way, the game, for those who don't know, has been flexed. So if you have tickets, if you have physical tickets, which I don't even know if anybody gets anymore, it's not 425 anymore. They flexed that with the Packers-Vikings game. It's a little bit more of a matchup to worry about. Now you're gonna have two you have two divisional rivals playing, but two backup quarterbacks most likely playing. So it's what we're dealing with.
First half points, the Eagles, a all-time season high of 21 first half points this year. Now in the season, they've scored 177 first half points for about 11.8 a half. On the second half, they only managed 12 points in the second half, and that's probably another glaring sign of why this team lost. And now for the season, 225 points for 15 in the second half on average. Al,
is it kind of irony though, Maddie, that all those people like pounding their chest, the team was winning, not really scoring in the first quarter. Now they finally really score the most points they scored in the first quarter, and they lose the game. It's kind of like a little irony, but
that's another thing. I mean, the way this game started, I was like, God damn, this thing's over. It's in the first quarter, and the game's going to be over.
And it should have been. It should have been. And I again, kind of going back to what I said before. Maybe this. I hate thinking like this, but maybe this was kind of a good little kick in the teeth for this team that they needed before they went into a stretch. Like, listen, Maddie, right now they're sitting at 12-3. Did you ever expect this team to be 12-3 at the beginning of the season?
No, 8-9. That was my record.
Yeah. All right. So for all intents and purposes, this team can go to 14-3 very easily. I don't think they're going to lose against the Giants because I don't think the Giants would allow themselves to win this game. They're tanking. Let's be honest.
They got that first round pick. They got the first overall.
Yeah. So Dallas is the only team that we're going up against that's really going to try to beat us. They just shut down CeeDee Lamb for the season. That's another feather in the cap for the Eagles defense moving forward. But maybe this kick in the teeth that this team needed, maybe Jalen, because here's the thing is Jalen Carter had a little bit of we all know he has a little bit of a personality issue. They had time getting up on time for stuff or whatever it was they dealt with that would kind of like slip through the cracks that nobody really talked about until after the fact. Maybe with the Jalen Carter 2 weeks in a row acting a fool, GJ getting kicked out of the game, waking them up that if they don't protect Jalen Hurts a little bit more, this could be a different season. All that kind of stuff. If you want to take the squeeze the lemonade out of the lemons in this situation, maybe this loss came at the right time, at the right moment to really wake this team up. Say you're not infallible, you're not the most dominant steamroll. You're not going to steamroll every team. Here's a little bit of a wake up call. So take that for what it's worth.
We'll see. For the game penalties, the Eagles committed 10 penalties for 91 yards. That can't happen. Now it's really trending in the wrong way. On the season, 92 penalties for 658 yards. So that's about 6 penalties a game for about 50 yards a game. Al, that's got to get under control. They've been,
and that was a lot more. A lot of that was in the last 2-3 weeks on top of it. So that's why I'm saying maybe this will help them kind of, again, stuff that they fixed in the past and they're very fixable problems. That's where I, like the one thing I said about coming out of this Washington game, come out healthy. I even didn't care about the win as much. I kind of just thought they would win because I feel like they're just that much better of a team. And they are that much better of a team. They allowed Washington to win that game in my eyes. I'm just saying they allowed them the stupid mistakes.
I allow you to win.
No, I'm just saying the stupid mistakes, the playing down to your opponent allows a team to win this game. That's what happened. Because you saw it. You saw the first quarter. You're like, this game is over already. If this team went in just to cruise control at that point, and Jalen Hurts didn't get hurt and all that stuff, this probably would have been a routing. Like I said, this team needed a wake up call, and I think they got it appropriately.
They forced 5 turnovers, a season high, now 21 on the year for about 1.5 a game. They committed 2 more turnovers, now 15 on the season for 1 a game. They let Washington Commander sackers get to Pickett/Hurts 4 times for 27 yards. They only got to Jaden Daniels 1 time for 3 yards, and that's again another one of the situations that, where was the pressure? Where was what were we doing here? What was the scheme? And then on 4th down conversions, the Eagles were 3 for 3 in this game. Now 17 for 25. The Eagles have gone for it on 4th down 25 times through 16 or 15 games so far this season. And there you have the Birds stat pack for this game. I took the Commanders this week in that game, and I obviously was right. And I took Jaden Daniels as my game MVP, and I think I'm going to award Jaden Daniels the game MVP for me.
Well, you have a bit of a man crush on Jaden Daniels.
I got
to call it out. I got to call you out a little bit on this because you were doing everything to Jaden Daniels that everybody did to Jalen Hurts, and kind of anointed him this wonderkin pretty quickly.
Well, I'm not anointing him. I think he's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Well, he could be. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with that. But to tell me that you think that right now, like I look at CJ Stroud, like everybody thought CJ Stroud could be the next best thing behind Patrick Mahomes.
Struggling.
And he's struggling, and he's got film on him over a couple of years, and they're not the same dominant team that we are used to seeing in Houston. I mean, he didn't score points at all against the Chiefs, who have a very good defense. But if CJ Stroud is this really great quarterback, he should be able to at least score a couple of points here or there. Let's get through a couple seasons before we start saying he's better than Jalen Hurts. Because at least with Jalen Hurts right now, I don't think he's better than Jalen Hurts right now. Could he have the ability to be so? Absolutely. Absolutely. Could he have the ability to do so? Absolutely. Does he? Is he? I don't know yet.
What would Jalen Hurts be doing with Jaden Daniels' weapons right now? That's also something you got to think about.
I don't think too much different.
So, Jalen Hurts is thrown to some of the best wide receivers in the league. Jaden Daniels is thrown to Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Okay, so we role reverse them, or if you put C.J. Stroud on the Eagles, is C.J. Stroud better than Jalen Hurts with those weapons? Weapons are involved in this too. The situation with the players are involved.
If you put any quarterback on the Eagles O-line and offensive weapons, that team's going to be better. If you go and put the reverse, if you put Jalen Hurts on this team with the Commanders. Are they still 10-5? I believe so. If not, they could be better. I don't know. I'm not, because here's the thing is they have won because of Jaden Daniels. Absolutely. But like I said, I'm not really ready to. I don't anoint quarterbacks after the first year or two.
Neither do I.
Even if Jaden Daniels somehow took his team to the Super Bowl this year, I'm not going to sit there and say he's not a great quarterback or anything. And the next could possibly be the next best thing. All things would be pointing in that direction. But we all know how a year or two of giving a chance of defenses to scheme up against them. I mean, Jalen Hurts found that the hard way, and he had to have a resurgence. Even Josh Allen, like his first few years, go back and look at them. Not good at all. Again, that's what makes Patrick Mahomes elite. He's been good from the get and hasn't really let his foot off the pedal.
Regardless of what his weapons are. He's elite regardless of who he's throwing to.
I don't think anybody's going to argue. If you're going to sit here and argue that Patrick Mahomes is not as good as Jalen Hurts, or Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes,
that's ridiculous.
That's a homer hat right there. That's maybe something we should do. We should create a homer hat.
There you go.
Put it on all. There you go. I think we go. There you go. The homer hat. That I agree with, and any realistic football person, watcher of football or whatever, is going to tell you that that's not true. It's not true at all. So
it's not.
But yeah, no, he is that. That's where he will be. That's what makes him elite. No matter what. Tom Brady, same thing. He had a bunch of nobodies. And how many people left Tom Brady to go somewhere else, and we're not good? It happens. That's why they're elite.
I agree with you.
I think Jaden Daniels has the sky's the limit for him. But to sit here and tell me he's better, or you would rather have him on the Eagles right now, no, because at least with Jalen Hurts, I know what I'm dealing with, and we've seen him even progress from that. Jaden Daniels could just come back and he could get figured out and then be shut down for the rest of his career. We don't know that yet.
Listen, you're absolutely right. And you know, if Washington does decide to put some weapons around him, which they probably will, watch out. We'll see. Kyle went with the Eagles in this game, 27-23. Obviously, he didn't get that. You went Saquon Barkley as his game MVP. He didn't get that either. Now Kyle is 10-5 on the season. I am 6-9, meaning mathematically I am still alive to hit my 8-9 mark on the picking the games this year. So I'm still trending in the right direction. It's been a rough stretch for me though this season. 3-game winning streak currently right now.
Yeah. So. Well, and here's the thing: it's nobody. Well, first part, I picked the Eagles to beat the Steelers. Nobody thought that was going to happen. They thought that was going to be Phil sells the Homer merchandise.
He does.
But everybody thought the Steelers were going to win. Everybody thought the Ravens were going to win, and the team has beaten the better teams, and it's been kind of a conglomerate. It wasn't all lopsided, like, oh, the defense just destroyed them, allowed the offense kind of walk through it, or the offense was just obliterating people. The defense really didn't have to do their job. It's kind of been all around, and that's why it's okay to be a little disclaimer here. It's okay to be excited about this team. It's okay to think this team is going to make a deep playoff run and even be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. It's very plausible and it's very believable. And I mean, just looking at it right now, you got the three top teams in the NFC, or probably Detroit, Eagles, and Vikings at this point. If you want to put them in that order, it could probably change it up a little bit if you feel ever so much to do so. Because everybody always thought the shoe was going to drop with the Vikings and Sam Darnold. So far, no shoes have dropped, and they've been consistent. And you know, it goes to show what coaching and weapons can do. Because Justin Jefferson as your main target does make you a better quarterback, and also just having a better. I mean, look at Daniel Jones. If you put Daniel Jones on that team, he could be an elite quarterback. I don't say elite, but he could be a much better quarterback than we think he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Daniel Jones sucks, but again, at the same time, I think the Giants can cause you to suck that bad.
Isn't he starting against the Packers this week?
Who?
Jones?
You mean Sam Darnold?
I thought Darnold was hurt.
Oh, I don't even know. Let me check. I haven't.
Anyway, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, now let's look ahead. We've looked back. Now let's look ahead. It's Dallas week. If anybody really cares anymore about it
doesn't have the same mustard. It doesn't have the same mustard. Because if they were both battling for that NFC East championship, then yeah, this would be like this area would be all turned upside down. But it's not.
Yeah, with the Cowboys eliminated, they're not making the playoffs. I think Dallas week has lost some gusto in the years since I was a kid anyway. But now it really doesn't have anything when there's no skin in the game for the Cowboys at all. They're just there they're showing up to do what they got to do, and it's a shame because you wait for Dallas week all year long, and you get 2 shots at it. It just ain't the same, Al. I need the Cowboys to be good for Dallas week to be a relevant thing. I really do.
It doesn't have the same mustard. No, it doesn't,
no.
and it does. It makes it less fun because, I mean, also we grew up in an era where this team sucked. Okay, and this team sucked so bad. As long as you beat Dallas, that was the old saying. As long as we can lose every game but 2. You know what I mean? I'll have 2 wins on the year, and as long as it's against Dallas, I'm okay. But that's not what's going on.
That is not feasible, but let's head down because we got to break this thing down. The game, as you mentioned, has been flexed from their 4:30 start time to 1 o'clock at the Link. Eagles going Kelly Greens this week. Cowboys going with their traditional white shirts and silver blue bottoms. Weather at the Link this week is going to be rainy, 64 and raining. So I don't know what that's going to do. Mm-hmm. How that's going to affect things with the Eagles in the ground game and potentially Kenny Pickett, who's dealing with some, he's dealing with some injury issues. On the injury front,
they did sign Ian Book to the practice squad. He's back in the Eagles.
Yep.
The backup.
Ian Book is with the Eagles. Injury report: Jalen Hurts is obviously did not participate in practice all week, and he's definitely not going to play on Sunday as he deals with that concussion issue. And don't forget the broken finger. Everyone's forgot about that, but he still has a broken finger that he's dealing with. The Kobe Dean limited yesterday in practice.
Better since he broke the finger. Maybe he's just stayed broken.
That's a good point. He has played better. The Kobe Dean. The Kobe Dean dealing with an abdomen. He was limited. Will Shipley concussed. When did that happen? I didn't even
that was
see.
Kickoff. That was during the kickoff.
So he's probably not going to play in the game. Kenny Pickett Pickett was a full participant, but he does have some rib issues. Al, I know they signed Ian Book. You got Tanner McKee. And it looks like that Pickett is going to start, but I've had rib injuries. You've had rib. There's nothing you can do. There are the most annoying things in the world, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Deep breath will hurt you.
Yeah,
a giggle. If somebody says something funny, you want them to stop. Yeah, it sucks. And they do put those Kevlar vests on them to keep things a little bit more together. So and then probably a little Toradol for the pain, so you can work through it for a few hours. But yeah, you're always worried about it, and even just the throwing motion, you're pulling on your ribs. Every movement you make is not good. Then you're always worried about taking a hit, so then you're a little bit more, throwing the ball away. So that's something we got to worry about. As I said, CeeDee Lamb has been shut down for the season, so the Eagles defense won't have to worry about that. But there is one thing, and it did kind of come down this week, that Shaq Barrett was reinstated after he retired from the NFL. The Dolphins have released him.
I saw that.
Does your boy Howie go for a little depth piece in Shaq Barrett?
Well, with the play of Bryce Huff all season long being pretty much what it's been, and he's still on the injury report dealing with the wrist problem, but he was a full participant. I don't know. I think you have to bang the tires, don't you? You have to shake out the rust.
I think so. With losing Brandon Graham, it'd be nice to have that savvy vet there who's played in the big games, who knows how to play. And like you said, the Eagles, the late season injuries have been piling up for the Eagles, which happens with most teams by this point. The dings and the stuff like that. It's the big injuries you need to worry about. But I think if you can get Shaq Barrett at this point for $1 million, just do it. Just do it. Like there's no reason not to at this point. So because you do have to worry about these piling up injuries. You want to stay safe. I really think if they win this week, it's going to be a snooze fest Giants game. It's going to be second string and third string players playing. Because I think the number one seed's all but not plausible. Even if they win out, they have to wait. They have to let other stuff kind of fall into place too. With the loss to Washington, that's really what kind of burned us a little bit with that. So, but at the same time, it's okay. Fine, I'm okay with it now. It's like fine. You're not gonna get that number one overall pick. The most QB wins in Notre Dame history.
What does that got to do with anything? But
I remember when. Listen, I don't know if I'm gonna upset Barb there, but I can't stand Notre Dame, Penn State guy. Sorry, can't stand Notre Dame because every Irish person in the world thinks that they have to like Notre Dame because it's a French school. Might I add?
Their helmets are dipped in real gold.
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
Okay. And the leprechaun brings the gold that all the Notre Dame people love. No, that's great. The Giants are unwatchable. They have no highlights. Yeah, I mean, even they probably sent the video team home for the year. You know what I mean, Barb? They're just like, there's nothing worth. I'm telling you, they're tanking at this point. Once they let Daniels go, they're already in we're not going to win mode as it is. I don't know how this coach survives. They're probably going to fire him the moment, the end of the season, that Monday, what they call Black Monday or something like that.
Black Monday.
So he's probably gone. That organization is just the dumpster fire. Even like for a while, they used to say, we're not as bad as Washington. Well, now they're worse. Yeah. Dallas has given them something to kind of hang their hat on. But, Ian Book, I don't know. That doesn't move the needle for me at all. But I really do hope they kick the tires on Shaq Barrett, unless somebody pays the crap. But I would figure us and the Lions are in the conversation because the Lions have more injuries than we do, and some big ones. They said Aiden Hutchinson could play if they make it to the Super Bowl. Like, that's how far out it would be until he could actually play.
Yeah, no, they would be really negligent if they didn't just kind of see what that's like. But with everything we talked about, with the injury report being what it is, and CeeDee Lamb, as you mentioned, the big one for the Cowboys being shut down. Of course, Dak's been gone forever. But the uniforms, the rain, the weather, the injury report, all that being said, Al, with the potential of the Eagles winning the NFC East hanging in the balance on home field in late December, what do you think is going to happen in South Philadelphia 1 p.m. on Sunday?
Sloppy mess. I think it's going to be a sloppy mess. But I will tell you this much. I think as long as he's healthy, Saquon will play, and I think he'll be within 100 yards the Giants game of that season or that record, the NFL record. I think he's 268 yards away. I could see him getting 150 yards easily this week. I mean, he did it in the first quarter against Washington, and Dallas has one of the weakest run defenses in the league right now. So, Barb is a Notre Dame fan.
I think so.
I can see that. Sorry, Barb. I just can't stand Notre Dame because of all my Irish friends.
I think she is.
Yeah. I love Notre Dame. Why? Because you're Irish? I mean, there's no reason there.
They dip their helmets in real gold. That's why I would like Notre Dame, but I don't like Notre Dame.
Maybe, the leprechaun sits on their shoulder and tells them, let me at him. It's no.
So, what are your 3 keys to Eagle victory?
Key number 1, absolute number 1 over anything else at this point is stay healthy. Stay healthy. Don't do anything stupid. Just play the game in front of you. Number 2, if healthy, Kenny Pickett, just have a game plan around Kenny Pickett this week. And you know what? They brought back it was during the Steelers game. They brought back what's his name? Well, not brought back, but they brought up a fullback. Maybe we're going to see a little bit more fullback action. The guy they got from Tennessee.
He played 1 snap last week.
Yeah, Kari Blazing or whatever it is. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of him this week, especially from the show. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of him there protecting Kenny, allowing Kenny to step up in the pocket and throw without having to worry about over his shoulder, because Kenny Gainwell really doesn't do the greatest of job. Saquon is a decent blocking running back, but you're not going to use him for that situation. And number 3, stop self-inflicting wounds upon yourself to cost you and your team the game. Play smart, play a team game, and you should win this game. They should, even with a backup quarterback, should win this game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. My keys to Eagle victory, number 3 is use the energy that you're going to get coming out of that tunnel in this game from the fans. They're going to want this thing to be finished at home. They're going to want to celebrate the NFC East championship at the Link. Use that to your benefit and just ride that wave. My number 2 is clean up that undisciplined play, as you mentioned. This is a trend now that's starting to really affect. I think it's going to hurt them if they don't get it under control. And I don't know if that's even possible, because I'm not really sure the kind of culture that Nick Sirianni kind of creates there. The issue with Hurt and Jalen Carter and Sirianni a couple weeks ago, all kinds of red flags for me, in the way the team is run. So they got to clean up that undisciplined behavior because it's going to cost this team at the end in the biggest ways, and that's going to be in the games where it really matters. These games don't matter, but they do in cleaning up some of this crap. So they got to clean up that undisciplined play.
They do matter. Like you said, it's NFC East Championship. You lock that up. Then you will get a bye week the following week for the most part.
It does. You're right. So it does matter. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question though, since you did mention that. Like, say, kind of what I brought up: 268 yards away. Say Saquon gets 150 of those yards tomorrow or Sunday. Should he play? If they have locked up the NFC East, there's really zero chance of them getting the number 1 seed. Should he play to go for that 110 yards?
So he's over 100 yards away from the record
against the Giants
at home.
At home.
I could say yes, and then on the first handoff, he makes a turn and he tears his ACL.
Yeah.
No, I'd say no. Obviously, if there's nothing left to play for on the standings, if he's over 100 yards away, my gauge with that would be 50. If he's 49 or less, yes. If he's 50 or more, no, he doesn't play.
So if he has 200 yards, you're cool with him going for those other 68.
No, I'm not.
You're holding step back.
Yards or less, he's away from it. Then he can.
A 215 yard kind of day.
Then let me play the final game. No,
I think he plays.
Yeah, of course, they're going to let him play. They're going to let him get the record.
100 yards, especially 100 yards or less. Oh, he's playing. And think about it. He could tear that off in one run.
Yeah, he could.
For the most part.
He could also tear off his ACL in one run. So there's a lot of.
And he also could tear his ACL getting out of bed. So let's not get caught up in details.
So there's my 3 keys to Eagle victory. With all that being said, I'm going to give you Kyle's picks for this week. Kyle's got the Eagles winning 24-12, and he's going to go with Saquon as his game MVP. I also have the Eagles winning this game 27-10, and I got Devontae Smith as my game MVP. Al, what do you got? You give me a team score and your game MVP.
Sloppy mess. It's supposed to be all rainy. I think you're going to see a little bit more from the run game, but more you're going to see more from the passing game than we would expect. But it's going to be more the short passes. I think they're going to try to get Devontae Smith a little confidence booster, between him and Kenny Pickett. I think we're looking at I'm going to say 31. No. 27-18. 27-18 or 17. 27-17. It's going to be, they're going to have a garbage time touchdown to put him up from 10 to 17 at the end of the game, and that's seal the deal. And I think Saquon will be the player of the game. I think he gets at least 150 yards plus 2 TDs, and Devontae gets the other TD.
There you go. Mm-hmm. There you have it. We'll see how we do. Again, I am 6-9. I am still teetering on. If I can run this thing out, I'll finish 8-9, which is what my original prediction was for the season. But we'll see. All right, Al, this is the time of the show, and again, I want to thank you for stepping in for Kyle today. We do the question of the week. This is I'll get your bill. Okay. You know where to send it, right?
Yeah.
Question of the week time. I lock myself in a room for the entire week, and I think of a great question that kind of, make people think, Kyle especially, which is not a hard thing to do. But I asked him this question a few weeks back, and I'm going to ask you this question. With it all being where it's at and everything that the Eagles have gone through up to this point of the season and where we are at 12-3, coming off of a 10-game winning streak, staring at the NFC East title, are the Philadelphia Eagles a legitimate Super Bowl contending team in 2024?
Absolutely. If you don't think so, you're drunk. I'm sorry. Why can you not say? Would you say the top 3 teams in the NFC and the top 3 teams in the AFC are your Super Bowl possible Super Bowl representatives in February?
No. I
You're
say it's AFC heavy. There's one team maybe in the NFC that could come out and challenge the teams in the AFC, and that's Detroit.
No. You say getting to the Super Bowl, the top 3 teams in the AFC, and top 3 teams in the NFC should be one of those 3 should be the representative.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I misheard.
And the Eagles are at least number 2 in my eyes. You could argue number 1 in some areas.
Yes.
So they are definitely a Super Bowl contending team. If it's Josh Allen and his heavy offense, but really weak defensive Bills, or is it Kansas City, who just seems to have this special little golden Roger Goodell that sits on their shoulder and lets them get away with murder?
Oh, you stop it, man. That dude's not. This is such a. I can't.
I'm sorry, but you got to admit, there's certain times that things just. You're like, how does that keep the favor the football gods?
But that was happening to the Eagles last year, too, before they fell apart against the 49ers. The Josh Allen horse collar tackle that was never called, which was a horse collar. Come on, Al. It goes both ways. It does.
It wasn't a horse collar.
Yes, it was. Come on. That was a. They show that in NFL training sessions now about what a horse collar is.
They pulled him by the jersey. Listen, Kansas City. Baltimore doesn't scare me, just because we beat them already.
Baltimore's no.
I think Lamar Jackson is always going to be a great quarterback, but never a winning quarterback. Josh Allen, I kind of could put him in that category. This year, to me, will make or break Josh Allen. Either he's going to go to the Super Bowl and possibly put a win in for it and beat the Chiefs. If they can never beat the Chiefs, then there'll be no hope for them.
Why isn't this season a make or break for Jalen Hurts, though?
I don't know. I don't see this. Like, if they lose,
why not? He's in the same category, I guess, as Josh Allen is at this point.
He's a lot younger.
But he also has not won the big game, and he's got a lot of that riding on his shoulders too, right?
But he's been further than Josh Allen has, in all the amount of time Josh Allen had opportunities to get there.
Explain why that's different than winning the Super Bowl and not winning the Super Bowl.
All right, let me ask. Here you go. I was waiting for that. Go ahead. Let me talk. Let's bring it back to Philadelphia, another Philadelphia team. Let's talk about the Sixers for a second, right? Here's a team that is second round and out usually, no matter how good or bad this team looks, right? And they are kind of the Sixers of the NFL. Like, they just keep getting to the same area. They keep running into the same speed bump, if it be the Kansas City Chiefs or whatever. They just never can get to the NFC Championship game. They just can't get over that. Don't yell at me. Jeez. They can never get to it. And that's what I see with Josh Allen. They can get there. We've seen the Eagles get there. We've seen the Eagles come within a hair of winning it all against the elite Kansas City Chiefs and the elite Patrick Mahomes. He could never get over the hump against Patrick Mahomes. So, yes, that's why it's a lot different. And, again, unfortunately for Josh Allen, he has to see the Kansas City Chiefs more often than not. We don't. There could be a chance there's no road to the Chiefs get knocked out and we got to deal with somebody else in the AFC. We don't know. Most likely not, because Roger Goodell and his little golden Roger Goodell won't allow that to happen. But that being said, there's your differences.
I don't see. Listen,
by the way, we're having a huge Christmas sale at the Emporium.
At the Emporium, yep. As after holidays, everything's 75% off.
Yeah.
Listen, I agree with what you're saying about Josh Allen. I agree what you're saying about him, but I also think you can throw Jalen Hurts into that because, again, I don't see a delineation. Jalen Hurts has taken the Eagles to the, as you said, the foot of the mountain, but they couldn't climb it for whatever reason. So if he gets back to the mountain and he can't climb it again, where are we at? Where do we go with Jalen Hurts? Is it time to throw him into that category of the Josh Allens of the league? I think it is, honestly.
Well, Josh Allen's had way more opportunities too. That's the other problem. That's his MO is there. It's not Jalen Hurts' MO at this point. It's not his MO yet. Can be, could be, possibly. But Josh Allen, that's his MO, especially if it ends this way. The way this team has been, that team has just been an offensive juggernaut, for lack of a better word. They almost remind me of what the Saints were years ago. Yeah. Like 10 years ago, like 45 points, but they're also letting up 37 points. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's very much like that. So, that's why I think how long has Josh Allen been? This is like, what is 6th year in the NFL?
2018, I think it was his first year.
Okay. So 6 years.
Yeah, that's about right.
So 6 years. He's still young enough. I'm not saying you give up on Josh Allen, but something has to change if it's the coach. Sean McDermott's been there for a long time. I know he's been coming under scrutiny. They really didn't put much around him, and yet he's been making a lot happen. And he has those abilities to really, like, kind of like Jalen Hurts, open the game up with his legs, be more. But he also puts himself in harm's way too. So it's like he's not the kind of guy. Like Jalen Hurts started sliding. Josh Allen doesn't slide still. He still rams into people. So I got off on a tangent here, but yeah, no, it's I don't think he's there yet. I can see where the comparison comes in. He still probably has a couple of years before you can put him in that category at this point.
I disagree. I think it's the future is knocking, and Jalen Hurts needs to answer the door.
Jaden Daniels is not coming to Philadelphia. Stop it, Matty B.
No, I don't. No, and unfortunately, that's another issue to all this. We're stuck with Jalen Hurts because either through Howie not wanting to admit that he gave the money to the wrong guy again, or the fact that, and let's face it, Jalen Hurts is not Carson Wentz. He's definitely a serviceable quarterback. You can work with him, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. And the Eagles are not going to put themselves in that position.
I think he's a little higher than serviceable quarterback.
I think he's serviceable.
Would you put Jalen Hurts top 10 quarterback currently in the NFL right now?
He's 10.
He's number 10. Is that what you're saying? Who's your 9? Give me your 9 in front of you.
Yeah, it's right here.
Go backwards. Go from number 8 or number 9.
From number 8 and go up.
Go 9 and down to number 1.
Stafford.
Bo
Nix.
Hold on one second. Let's back it up for a second. Stafford. Borderline can agree with you on this one. I can borderline agree with you because he has won it, but he's definitely not what he's been over the last couple of years. His age is starting to set in on him. I'm talking right now. If I'm a franchise, I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Stafford right now.
If I'm a franchise like the Eagles, who's got all these offensive dynamo players, I'm taking Stafford over Hurts. The playbook's going to be completely open to me.
So you're going to sell your soul for Super Bowl?
I mean, I'm just telling you right now who gives us the best chance of winning at this particular time. So Stafford's 9.
Okay.
Bo Nix is 8. No one's talking about this kid. Bo Nix is a good quarterback. He's the real deal.
I agree with you. He's on my. I have him as my. He's on my fantasy football team as my backup quarterback, and he's done well for me. Again, kind of like the Jaden Daniels situation. Yeah. Let's talk about next year. And I don't know if he has the it factor to win it all in the Super Bowl this year, even with all the weapons and the offensive line, everything in front of him of the Eagles. So I'm going to disagree with that one. Keep going.
Jaden Daniels.
Still same reason, dude. You can't tell me that, right? You're putting a lot of faith in some unproven commodities. Keep going.
Justin Herbert.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's having a good year.
He's having a good year. Finally, under probably a better offensive scheme. Justin Herbert's an enigma to me. I don't know if I want to say I wrote him off a little bit, but he's kind of like what Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix is to you for a year. Like people really were high on him, and then I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with that, but keep going.
Jordan Love.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree.
Lamar.
Sure.
Jared Goff.
He's showing So let me ask you a question, because I feel Jared Goff, and I was one of those people who really kind of just threw him in that he's so good, everything around him so good type situation that as long as he doesn't screw it up.
We got the quarterback in that draft. We should have been Goff.
I don't know. I sometimes always think the adventure, the journey kind of bleeds it. Like Nick Foles, if he didn't go through all the adversity he had, would he been able to come in and do what he did here? I don't know. But Jared Goff is a very good quarterback, and he's got the stats to do it. So right this second, I can agree with you a little bit. Yeah, go ahead. Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with them. So I probably have him more about 6 or 7 than you have him at 10. I'm at 10. I think there's 9 quarterbacks that I would take right now ahead of him. And I think there's 9 quarterbacks in this league right now. If he went down right now, and this team is right where they are at right now, and he went down, and the NFL came out with a rule saying you can cherry pick anybody who isn't Patrick Mahomes, or I'm sorry, anybody who's a rookie this year. I know you would take Jaden Daniels. If I can only take a rookie? Well, I'm just saying you can't take one of the big names. Like you can't take Patrick Mahomes, you can't take Josh Allen. and Jordan Love. You could take anybody else but
Yeah,
those three.
maybe Jaden. Well, no, I probably
You forgot
take
Joe
Stafford.
Burrow in that conversation. I'd probably have Joe Burrow
That's
as
right.
a
I don't even have him in my top 10. Honestly.
I would probably have Jalen around 6 or 7. I would probably have your rookies back in the 12 to 10 spot back there. And then Joe Burrow, even though they haven't had a great year, he's still putting up numbers.
Yeah.
So I think Joe Burrow might even be ahead of Jalen in my eyes right there.
Right. I mean, if that's the case, Jalen would be on the outside of my top 10. He'd be 11. So there you go. He's on the outside if I insert Burrow at 10.
You're putting way too much stock in these young quarterbacks that you have no proof.
You're asking me right now today who I think the top 10 quarterbacks.
You're telling me you think Bo Nix and Jalen Daniels, either one of them could come in and take this team to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I could. I did. Yeah.
I
think there's things about Jalen Hurts we don't know about. And again, I've been keeping the number all season long. Well, yeah, I've been keeping this number all season long, Al. So Jalen Hurts has attempted 361 passes this year.
Yeah.
Right? He's attempted 300. Only 48 of them have been to the middle of the field.
Yes.
7% of the Eagle offense, aerial-wise, goes to the middle of the field. 7%. 93% goes to the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Kellen Moore's offense is predicated on slant patterns, quick hitters, and across the middle type stuff. Yep. Why in the hell is they only throwing the ball 7% to the middle of the field?
I agree with you, except if you look at the numbers in week-by-week scenarios, over the last 3 weeks, those middle number percentages have changed. If they didn't change, that would have probably be like a 35% or less over the middle because they've been adding that in. They've been kind of not needing it, but they're easing it in because, like you say, Matty B, they know every team knows their strengths and weaknesses. We always said if you can't do it until they stop you, right? Well, they are seeing that defenses are keen on the outside. They're taking away all those reads. So they've been, look at the Devontae Smith ball he dropped. It was right over the middle. It was right through the middle. Now, I know that wasn't Jalen. That was Kenny Pickett. But my point being is if you look at the numbers over the last 3 weeks, more last week and the week before, because, of course, Jalen didn't play much this week, then you would see those numbers start to climb. So I think they're preparing for such. They're getting ready to show a little bit more in the postseason.
Barbara's got a good point here. Bo Nix and Love and Darnold have had better years collectively than Jalen Hurts. I kind of agree with her.
Absolutely. Look at what's his name? Look at Josh. You can't look at Josh Allen's numbers. These are just sick. He's probably he should win. Just if the MVP is based on pure numbers alone, and we all know it's a quarterback driven thing. Then we know he should win. Patrick Mahomes' numbers aren't startling this season either.
No.
Again, numbers are part of the game. What makes Patrick Mahomes? You don't look at his numbers. Why? Because he just can win. He can win ugly. He can win pretty. He can win all different which ways.
He's got 3 of them. He's got 3 Lombardi trophies. He just wins.
Yeah. So, yes, statistically, are those guys having better years than Hurts? Absolutely. But when you had the ground game of Saquon Barkley and even Kenny Gainwell shaking it up a little bit, and I was writing Kenny Gainwell off in the beginning of the season, I was done with the Gainwell experiment were my exact words. Things are a little different. So, yeah, that's why those numbers are going to be skewed.
But the problem is going to be if you go up against a Buffalo or a Kansas City in the Super Bowl, are you going to be able to go touchdown to touchdown with them? Is your defense going to be able to shut them down to where you can rely on your ground game to continue doing what you've been doing all season long? Or are you going to have to go to the air and try to go back and forth with?
Well, you're going to have to throw some stuff at them, but yeah, you have both options. I think.
Obviously, we'll see how the defense reacts to what whoever throws at them. But I don't feel if they do get into a contact,
you don't feel real good of a healthy Saquon in the Super Bowl.
The problem is going to be they may not be able to use them because they may be down, they may be behind. Don't forget they get off to really slow starts in games. We saw it this week,
but
they did it well.
But Saquon. He's the kind of running back that's not going to just bleed you dry. He can if you want him to. But at the same time, as we're seeing, listen, you have to admit where you're seeing the growth. Outside of the loss of Jalen Hurts, this team got better in every week. The first quarter has gotten even better and better. This is when you want it to be better. I don't care about the first 10, 12 games. Who gives a shit about that? I'm worried about what's moving forward. And they're making the right adjustments. You have to give the Eagles credit where credit's due. They are making the right adjustments moving forward.
I need to see more than one game in one first quarter of excellence before I say to make them adjustments.
I agree, but it's got to start with one, right?
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
If we haven't had one yet, I'd be like, all right, Matt, I agree with you. We're getting a little it's getting a little hairy. We only have 2 weeks left in the regular season, and most likely no bye, and they're not doing it yet, but they are doing it. And that's the thing is, you got to kind of read in between the lines a little bit, and people tend not to do that, and especially, and that's what makes numbers great and wonderful, and at the same time, they can be all misleading because if you put all those first quarter numbers together, no, this was the worst first quarter team in the NFL, but one of the best records in the NFL at the same time. So, despite that, they were still winning. Now you're seeing becoming one of the better first teams at the right time. It's all about timing too. We know that. Ask the Phillies.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, ask the Phillies. No, I agree. Al, you make valid points, but so do I, and so does everybody else. There's a lot of football left to play and a lot of unknowns yet to be discovered, and it's going to start or continue on Sunday with the Cowboys at 1 o'clock. Remember, for those of you who are still thinking it's a 4:30 start, it's been flexed. 1 o'clock start.
Yep.
Al, I want to thank you, man.
Change your plans.
Yeah, please. I want to thank you for sitting in for Kyle. It was great. We used to do this a lot on the Fighting's Final. We did it a lot on Clear the Ice, and now we've now moved into the football. So I want to thank you for coming in, man.
Anytime to argue with you, Matty B.
Anytime, man. I appreciate it. Before I let you go, Al, where can the folks find you out there?
I'm still on Twitter right now. Big L at EOP on X. I'm still there. I'll still occasionally throw out some pearls of wisdom. But that's about it right now. And, I'll sit in whenever you guys need me when I'm around here at It's a Wrap, of course.
Yes, we are on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. You guys, thanks for the show. Yes. Well, thank you, Barbara.
If I'm doing it for anything, I do it for you.
Yeah. Alice is trying to stay relevant in your eyes, Barbara. It's always trying to do.
That's all I'm doing. This is all I'm doing is for you. Trying to keep up with the Barbs.
For those of you, of course, I am who I am, and I am the
and that's never going to change.
Yes, I am the Lord of It's a Wrap Sports, and tomorrow we'll be back.
Can we put that on the bottom here as a little tag? The Lord.
Tomorrow I'll be back, and the Flyers will be back, and so will Clear the Ice, as I have you for the post-game Anaheim Duck and post-game King game on Sunday. Big day. Finally,
what time is that Kings game, by the way?
I think they're both afternoons, like 4 o'clock.
Oh, that actually probably works with the flex. You can go right from Eagles to Flyers hockey like that. That's a good Sunday, Matty B. And you and Sal are bringing it all home. Yeah, and then Sal's going to have the post game. Are you going on with him this weekend? I don't think so, but I will be finding out shortly.
All right. Well, so Sal and maybe somebody else, or just Sal, will be taking you home on the Eagle post game for the Cowboys, and then of course our stuff on Monday. I got my show tonight. The final word of the week, and then all the other great things we have taking you into the weekend, into your start of your last week of 2024. Wow, can you believe it?
So you're trying to say you don't have to go anywhere else. You can stay right here, and there'll be something for you.
That's what I'm saying now. You got to stay. It's a Wrap Sports. Take it. Just keep us going. We're 24/7. Not quite, but we're working that way. We're getting there. But listen, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll talk again. Go Eagles, and we'll see you. Al, any last comments before I let you go?
Love you guys.
Love you guys. All right.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I'm so. Everybody know I'm You know when they click through. Try to send this about to be a slow beat.